She said, he looked right at me and told me I wasn't ready. Not that my work wasn't ready, that I wasn't. You deliver. And then the next performance cycle, you deliver again, and you realize the goalpost keeps moving. This isn't about your performance. It's about their perception framework. And it's one of the most quietly destructive experiences in professional life because of what it does over time. It stings in the moment. It gets inside of you, and you start second guessing yourself, not just for that conversation, but everywhere. You stop waiting for them to revise their view of you, and you start creating specific, targeted experiences that build a new picture. This is why competency is overrated.
Enough already! You've worked harder, stayed later, smiled through it, you've shrunk yourself, you've overexplained yourself, you've apologized for yourself, and still walked away feeling like you were the problem. You weren't. You've been playing by rules that were never designed for you, and you're exhausted. You're done. I'm Coach Mo, and this is Enough Already, the podcast for women who are done performing and ready to heal, reclaim, and redefine what their life actually gets to look like when you step into your real power. No more shrinking, no more trying to be less or more, or whatever they need you to be. We're going to name exactly what happened, get free from it, and figure out what comes next. This is your space. This is your moment. Women, we are rising. Let's get into it.
So she came to me after a one-on-one with her manager. She said, he looked right at me and told me I wasn't ready. Not that my work wasn't ready, that I wasn't. She'd been in the industry for 15 years. She delivered every metric they gave her, and she walked out of that meeting wondering if he was right. He wasn't. But here's the more important question. Why was she asking? That's what we're unpacking today. I know when I say these words to begin every podcast, you might be thinking, yep, that's me. So let me ask you something. Is there someone in your professional life, a manager, a colleague, someone with authority over your career who consistently underestimates you? Who looks at your record and still seems surprised when you show up, who gives you feedback, feels like they're describing someone you don't even recognize. If you're nodding right now, you're in good company. This is one of the most common things I hear from the women I coach. And it's one of the most quietly destructive experiences in professional life because of what it does over time. And when I tell you these things, I'm not just telling you from my coaching platform of 12 years, 2,000 women, all sorts of industries, all sorts of levels. I'm talking to you from my experience as well. After navigating the corporate world for 30 years and moving up the ladder, I found that I could have done it more efficiently if I had more inside of me. So this just doesn't erode you over time. It stings in the moment. It gets inside of you, and you start second guessing yourself, not just for that conversation, but everywhere. You start rehearsing your value more than you should have to. You start like performing and doing these mental calculations before every meeting. Am I going to have to prove myself again? How much energy is that going to take? I don't really have it today. I'm tired. My kid has something at 4:00. That's a tax. T-A-X. That is a tax you are paying, and you are bringing it into yourself because you were told to do that. And today we're unpacking it, not just why it happens, but what you can actually do about it. So why does this happen? I want to give you 3 patterns because they require different responses. And I don't want you walking away thinking there's only one answer here. Pattern 1. The prove it dynamic. This is where someone, often a manager, your boss, who came up differently than you perhaps, or who has certain assumptions about who belongs in which roles. And they're applying a higher bar to you than they apply to others. And you have to demonstrate readiness more explicitly, more consistently, and more recently than your peers. You deliver. And then the next performance cycle, you deliver again, and you realize the goalpost keeps moving. This isn't about your performance. It's about their perception framework. And perception frameworks can be shifted, but only if you understand that that's what you're working with. Now, there's a element in this perception framework that is the patriarchal societal overarching thing that we're dealing with every day. But I'm just going to say this. There is a way to navigate a person's perception. So pattern number 2 is invisible excellence. Your work is genuinely excellent. You've been doing it quietly. You're not narrating your impact. You're not connecting your contributions to the organizational outcomes the way that people are going to care about in the organization. Ooh, yeah, Sally's really been doing some great work. That really impacted my department over here. You've been doing the work and assuming the work speaks for itself. No, it doesn't. And I have to say this. You are the one who speaks for your work. That's the itself that has to get going. So pattern 3 is the likable credibility trap. Last year, there was a book called The Likeable Badass. Maybe it was the year before. And then last year was The Broken Rung. We keep reporting on how women have to navigate this likability credibility trap. And that's sneaky. It's tricky. It's a balance beam. And you've been focused on being the person who's great to work with, collaborative, easy, supportive, that you're inadvertently signaled that you're a team player, not a leader. I know. All the things that you thought were the performance that you were supposed to do now is pegging you as a team member and not as someone who can lead. And these are absolutely not the same thing, as you probably know. And some managers, when they look at you, they see team player version because that's the version you've been most consistently showing them. None of these are insurmountable, but you need to know which one you're dealing with. So let's start rewriting the narrative. Here's the thing about being underestimated. The most common advice is prove me wrong, work harder, deliver more, wait for them to come around. And maybe someone in your family or your partner may be saying that. I want to offer you something different because prove them wrong keeps you in a reactive posture, working against their narrative instead of replacing it with your own. I'm going to sit on that for a second. Working against their narrative is you proving it instead of replacing it with your own. What I've seen work consistently across industries, across levels, is what I call narrative replacement. It's not complicated, but it does require intention. And it does require what I talk about on most of these podcasts, inner certainty, alignment, identity. So you stop waiting for them to revise their view of you and you start creating specific, targeted experiences that build a new picture. Not in general, specifically. If the problem is invisible excellence, you start narrating your work, not bragging, connecting. The project wrapped up and we're on track for a 15% improvement in efficiency by Q3. Want me to pull together a summary of the leadership meeting? That's not bragging. That's you making your work visible and connecting it to something they care about. And as a little asterisk and footnote in my Leadership Academy, the number 2 priority in your work is to make your boss's job easier and have them know that that's what you're doing. Number 1 is knowing who you are as a leader. So you got to know that before you're navigating your boss. So if the problem is the prove it again dynamic, you have a direct conversation, not a confrontational one, not something that you're going to be pushing or getting real argumentative with them. Again, you have to come from an open place, your heart. You can't be coming from your wounds. A clarity conversation is, I want to understand what success looks like and what would make you confident that I'm ready. Simple, easy. You're not asking for permission. You're gathering information and you're letting your boss know that you want to close this gap. You're not complaining that you haven't done it yet. You're simply saying, I want to understand what success looks like for me at the next level. Can we talk specifically about what would make you confident that I'm ready? No softeners, just a very straightforward, easy, non-confrontational statement. If the problem is the likability credibility trap, you start owning the room differently. You lead in meetings. You offer your analysis, not just support. Please don't ever be the devil's advocate. That's going to keep you on the bottom of the rung. Do not do that one more time if that's you. You got to make your strategic thinking visible. Like you're putting the pieces together in the meeting and coming up with a conclusion that's going to matter to others or matter to your team or the stakeholder in that meeting. When you make your strategic thinking visible rather than keeping it in the background where it's safe, and I'm not sure I want to say something, I'm not connect the dots, I don't want to seem like I know too much. The goal is that you are making a different version of yourself undeniably visible. And you're going to have some courage coming out of you to do this. Okay, so I have to say this because it's real and it doesn't get said enough in these conversations. Sometimes the person underestimating you is doing it consciously or semi-consciously because it serves them for you staying in your slot. It serves them. I know that's uncomfortable, but I've watched this happen too many times to pretend it doesn't happen. The manager who loves the work you do and would genuinely lose something if you were moved up or moved over, even if you want an assignment with no extra money. Your boss will lose something if you've been that damn good. And a lot of women I coach, that's who they are. The person finds your ambition threatening to them rather than inspiring. The environment that culturally, systematically has a narrow definition of leadership, then you fit. This is why competency is overrated. Here's what I want you to do with that information. Not use it as an excuse to stop advocating for yourself. Use it as a prompt to ask a harder question. If in this area, I want you to think about yourself being curious about what it would take for you to win. So you might actually ask that directly. Is this the right arena for me to be trying to win in? Ask yourself first. Because some battles aren't about your performance. They're about the room. And sometimes the most powerful move is to decide that your career doesn't need this person's approval to move forward. Clearly, if that's your boss, that's not so. That's not giving up. It's being strategic about where you spend your energy. But I would say this, you're always going to come out winning if you have something productive to say in a meeting. And if you can tie that to either something you know uniquely is yours, strategic thinking, and or pointing to your outcomes. Yeah. So if you're sitting with a manager relationship right now that doesn't feel right, one that has you constantly having to justify your value or wondering if you're interpreting it correctly, that's exactly the kind of nuanced thing that my coach Mobi can help you think through. And be specific. She'll help you figure out which pattern you're in, because she knows all my work and all the language. She'll help you build the specific targeted strategy for shifting that narrative. And she'll do it at 10 p.m., 3 a.m., 5 p.m., or at noon. When you think it through before tomorrow's meeting, not in 2 weeks, not when you finally have an appointment, but go to the show notes and find out more about Coach Mobi. I created her to have convenience in your hand and frankly, to be a less expensive option for getting real coaching. If you're a professional woman, this is a resource I cannot talk or endorse more. It is a small entry-level coaching opportunity for you. Every one of my clients who's on it, and a few women who've gotten on it who are not my direct clients, say they can't believe how supportive and successful they feel having dialogue with Mobi. So here's your one thing to stop, your one thing to start, and your one truth to carry forward. Stop delivering in silence and calling it professionalism. Stop believing that your work will speak for itself. Connecting your work to outcomes isn't self-promotion in a bad way. It's strategic communication, and it's long overdue. One thing to start. This week, pick one contribution you've made recently and narrate it to someone who needs to know about it. Not, I finished the report, the impact the report is going to have. Get comfortable connecting your work to what matters to the people above you. And important and informal power folks at your sides. So here's the truth to carry forward. Being underestimated is information for you. It's telling you something about the narrative that exists within you And narratives can be rewritten. Only by you, though. Now, you might be pushing back right now and saying, I don't have that narrative. They have that narrative. We live in a universe where your energetic truth is mirrored out there. I'm not blaming you for this, but I'm saying this. Your internal narrative, what's it truly saying? Internal narrative, truly. Is it saying, I hate my boss, I hate my job, I can't believe I'm not getting ahead, I hate Michael for getting ahead? Now, I know these are normal human things, but if that's your inner narrative, if you are degrading yourself and others on a constant basis, first of all, you need my Mobi. And those narratives in yourself can be rewritten, but only by you and only by doing the work. Nobody else is going to do that work for you, and nobody else can. So before you go, if today's episode landed somewhere real, if something stirred that you haven't had space to look at, Coach Mobi is here for you tonight, every night, every morning, middle of the night, etc. 24/7. Click on the show notes below to find out more information, and we'll see you on the monthly Q&A call. See you at the next episode.
If today's episode hit home, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. Because the best thing we can do is make sure no woman sits alone in an experience that has a name. You've been listening to enough already. I'm Coach Mo Fall. Please subscribe and like and comment so this can be sent to more women just like you who needs to hear there is a different way. Take good care.